So just a reminder, we are recording these presentations so that they can go on our YouTube so that they can be accessed for anybody as they would like. Some people can't maybe make this time, so we want to make sure it's accessible to all. If you've got any questions, especially if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, make sure to drop them in the comments. If you've got any questions while I am presenting, please feel free to drop those in the comments. I will periodically be checking those as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So today we're talking about making the most of social connections during a pandemic. And this is a really big topic that's been coming up basically since COVID started. There's a lot of people who are just struggling to really kind of meet those social connections. We talk about the word isolation is thrown around, and we talk about it in the sense of isolating because maybe you've got COVID or you're quarantined. But what we're not talking about is what some of those impacts are on maybe our mental and even our physical health. So what exactly is social connectedness? Basically, when we're talking about social connectedness, where it's that feeling of closeness and that being connected to an actual community. So feeling like we're a part of something. People in general tend to be social creatures. We crave some type of connection, and it doesn't even matter what maybe your personality type is, whether you're an extrovert, an introvert, anywhere in between. We still crave some sort of connection to other people for the most part. And the big thing to note about that is that feeling connected or not feeling connected, that can actually impact our health. So people who build those social connections have longer lives. They even have stronger immune systems, which, talking about this in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, that's a big thing, right? That we can have a stronger immune system. People are just generally happier. They even have improved memory or cognitive skills. They have increased motivation for self-care. So, what gets us motivated to get out of bed and, actually get up, maybe change our clothes, like take a shower. Sometimes those simple things, a lot of times during this pandemic, is that the connectedness and, communicating with other people and, staying connected to them. Some other really big things is that feeling of connectedness to other people can actually lower our levels of stress hormones. Which is a really big deal because one of the other pieces that we talked about, especially in the past with the Wellness Wednesdays, is stress and how we're trying to combat stress. And so being connected is actually a piece to that. And then social connectedness just brings some emotional support. These are some trying times, and a lot of what we need is that emotional support. And you'll see the graphic I've got on this slide. It's actually, if you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this is actually his hierarchy, and you'll see that right in the middle of that is love and belonging. And so that's that social connectedness piece. And love and belonging is right above those basic needs, which is those physiological needs like food, water, shelter, and then safety, which is just, that feeling safe. And you can even say that the social connectedness is a piece of safety. So it's, to really kind of move through, and really fill our needs, we need that social connectedness. And then the last piece of this is the intellectual stimulation is, sometimes we might have silly conversations with our friends, but sometimes we have some really deep and meaningful conversations with them, or, your friends or your family, whoever you have those connections with, and they might actually, challenge your views. They may just challenge you by offering you like, hey, I just read this book. I really think you'll like it. So there's a lot of benefits that come to having that connectedness, whatever it may look like for you individually. So I want to take this time to have a discussion. So you're more than welcome to unmute yourself or to just drop a comment in the chat. But I really kind of want to talk about a couple of different things here. Like I said, if you're not watching right now, you're watching in the end, please feel free to drop just a comment and what your thoughts are on some of these questions. And so the first one is what are students not getting out of their current social situations? Like, what are they not getting during this pandemic out of their social interactions? And I want to really have a discussion about that. And then the other piece to that is introverts versus extroverts. How are these different groups dealing? Part of where this presentation stemmed with is I was actually having a conversation with one of the counselors here at the Student Health Center, and they're finding that different people, whether they're an introvert or an extrovert, are actually having harder times coping, but in totally different ways. So extroverts, we're just so used to seeing people and getting out there and, you know, fulfilling life, and we just want to do all the things with all the people. And so the big struggle is the quarantine and the isolation and not seeing people. Whereas, you know, introverts, it's not, you know, introverts are doing all in the sense that they might not be those people that like want to get out there. But some of the issues with the online connectedness is maybe they're feeling a little bit more that they struggle with the connections they're making, and maybe they're not as meaningful, or they just they're finding it harder to connect with people because it is just virtually. And so something to think about is like how different types of people may actually be struggling differently. And so, you know, the big thing here in having this conversation is, just because your friend is an extrovert, they may still be struggling. Just because they're an introvert and maybe they're like, oh, good, I don't have to go out, doesn't mean that they're not struggling either. And so I really kind of just want everybody to think about that moving forward. And I'm just going to give a second for everybody to kind of reflect on these questions. And if you do have a comment, to drop that comment in the box, and I'm going to check it out. So I'm not seeing any comments, so I'm going to move on. But like I said, feel free to drop a comment at any time, or, and if you're watching on YouTube, drop a comment later. So I want to talk about now what are some ways that we can stay connected. And you may have seen some of these before. Some of these might be new. One of the first ones that most people are probably familiar with are video chats. And another perspective that I actually saw that I thought was really cool is like a virtual happy hour. So, sometimes we're used to decompressing like after a work day or long day at school. And so planning, 30 minutes to an hour that you just spend like family friend time, like maybe you plan it so that everybody sits down and has dinner together, right? Or you plan to do something together with your video chat, and so you can plan it kind of like a happy hour kind of thing. It's a really good way to decompress from the day while also really kind of connecting with everybody out there. And I'll skip down the list a little bit, because another way you could do that is through a watch party. So apps like Netflix, Sling, Amazon might even do this if you've got Prime. You can actually start making watch parties so that you can watch with your family and friends. So, the movie theater isn't something that are really open. Some are selectively open. Some people may still not even want to go out in public right now. So this is kind of your next best option, would be to kind of have like a watch party together and kind of watch the movie theater. And, you don't have to worry about being shushed necessarily in the movie theater by other people. If you like to go to the movies and chat with the person next to, this is a really good option for you. So that's a really great option too. Facebook groups. And, there's kind of two pieces to this, is that you can find a Facebook group of your area and maybe see what is going on near you. How, some people during the pandemic, maybe they did like a drive-by birthday party, or, they tried to do some drive-by. I know in our area, they did like a drive-by at a senior center, kind of like a drive-through, because they couldn't really go in and see anybody, but they wanted to show support. So finding out what's going on in your neighborhood around you, that you can kind of build those connections, even if it's for somebody that you don't know personally, but you do want to do something really nice and volunteer for them. The other thing might be that you just find a group that has a similar hobby to you, and you stay connected. And again, this goes back to the, like, is it, finding those connections that are maybe intellectually stimulating and really kind of get the juices flowing and you really kind of thinking and challenging yourself. So, finding a hobby and kind of moving forward with it, it really gets our brains working and we're not really worried about and focused on being alone. There's plenty of apps out there to stay connected. I put one that is new to me that I was not aware of, but Discord's one of them. I know a lot of people are using that. There's still the ones like Facebook Messenger chats. You can still have groups on Snapchat. Like there are so many different ways to get groups together that probably offer a video chat option or a phone call option so that it's all kind of in one place. Discord's just really nice because there's a ton of different things that you can do it, and there's a lot of communities that are built around it. I use it because I'm in the gaming community, but there's a lot of really good options out there. Virtual classes. So again, like what are you doing to stay busy, have fun? You'd be surprised how some of our feeling of belonging and connection is we went to an exercise class and we chatted with the people in our class, or I went to actual class and I chatted with the person next to me. I'm in an organization where one of the things that they actually did was we didn't just do our meeting. They actually did what we would normally have 30 minutes before our in-person meetings where you get to just kind of eat and mingle with people. And so they are actually doing that still. You would be online and you'd be in a smaller chat that they would put you in. And so the point of that is that, again, do something where you're getting some sort of interaction with people. It may not still be in person, but you are still getting an interaction. And maybe they have the opportunity for you to type and chat or to even talk in person before class starts. So, explore those options. Another option is to write letters or send cards. This is something that we've kind of tossed by the wayside. But I know one of the things that I did for Christmas is I went gung-ho sending out Christmas cards this year, and it felt so good to just write a short message to somebody, basically saying that I'm thinking of you during these times, and I'm so excited to spread the Christmas cheer. I know I've already bought like a Valentine's Day card to send out to a family member and this is the family member I call every week. So, write a letter, send cards, start doing the snail mail kind of thing. It's kind of exciting for people to get that personalized mail versus just like another bill in the mail or something like that, or another credit card offer or whatever. So try something new like that and send a card. Now, I need to also point out that one of the things about trying to stay connected online is we do need to take some precautions because there is this thing called the loneliness paradox. And part of what that is it's basically technology and social media can increase our loneliness if we're doing it too much, perhaps, or we're maybe not using it to the capacity that we could be. And so part of what we're talking about there is like a lot of people have that Zoom fatigue, right? We're so zoomed out because we're constantly using it, or we're just in social media, but we're not maybe interacting and actually getting what we could out of it. And so one of the things that we can do about that is, and it's the second one on the bottom in the purple, which is unplug. We are so into technology, and a lot of my examples on the previous slide, like if I go back, a lot of these are technology based, right? Except for the last one. And that was the reason I put the last one on there, is because sometimes we need to just shut all of our screens down and we need to take the time to get off of the technology, get off of the social media. And a lot of what I'm pieces to that is also take time for yourself during this. So to really you want to do that self-care. So we talked about self-care before in this Wellness Wednesday series. So please feel free to go back and look at that presentation. But the self-care piece is going to also be really important to this, because if you're not 100%, you can't put 100% into your social connections and really doing that. So making sure that you're also taking care of yourself. And with that being said, it's the same thing we would say in person, is don't just have a meeting just to have a meeting. You want to actually make it meaningful. So don't try to schedule a meeting every week if you're going to feel like it's just too much. Like maybe schedule a meeting every month or every 2 weeks or something like that. But put something on the schedule so that you are meeting each other. You just don't want to do it too much. And then the other piece is also making sure that you're getting help. So realizing when it's not just loneliness, it's a little bit more than that. It's starting to maybe feel depressed. You're starting to change your habits. It's whether it's sleeping more, sleeping less. You can research the signs of depression and some anxiety, but also making sure that you're seeking help. There's a lot of options for help for that, whether it is online or the Student Health Center counseling services. You are still here in person. You can come see us, and that's really the nice thing that we've tried to do is to stay open so that you can come see us and can get those connections. So just know that there's a bunch of different things to do, but making sure that when we're talking about trying to connect in the digital age, in the digital realm so much, is that we do need to take a break from it. And so the last thing I kind of want to leave you guys with in this presentation is just remember you're not alone. There's a lot of people who are struggling with the exact same issue. I know I did not cover every possible solution in this presentation. And part of the things that I've learned because I've actually connected with other people. So, when you're making connections is learn from other people, learn about your options. I use a bunch of different apps because a bunch of different people use a bunch of different apps. So, don't get overwhelmed by that, but at the same time, recognizing you're not alone and you're reaching out to people because they may be struggling with the same types of issues as you. So I'm going to go ahead and end the slideshow here. If you've got any final questions, maybe something you'd like me to talk about more in depth, please write those in the chat. If you don't, I want to thank you for coming here and taking part in this, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay on YouTube. Thank you so much for being here. And we look forward to meeting you. In 2 weeks, we will be covering healthy relationships. So it'll be February 17th. It's right after Valentine's Day. So it's a really great opportunity. And one of our peer health educators will actually be doing the presentation. So we look forward to seeing you then. And thank you so much for coming.